Okay, so this video is about the progress I made so far, and this is my second attempt at shooting it because the first one was too long and my phone ran out of memory and cut it off. Um, and I was talking for 30 minutes, and that's really frustrating. So I'm just gonna do the short version. So instead of narrating all my progress and like kind of the step by step how I got there, which I have written up in the corresponding blog post. I'm just going to talk about where I started and where I've ended up. And hopefully that'll work and my head won't explode. So things started, the like big change I made started on November 23rd, so like 40 days ago now. So where I was basically in the time immediately leading up to that, I had no direction in my life. I was spending pretty much all my time on crap like video games, TV, YouTube, Twitch, social media, stuff that I get addicted to or binge, and have struggled with throughout my life, and like especially my last few years of my life. And I'd say I was like mildly depressed and feeling really pessimistic about the world. And like I said, I had no sense of like what to do or what I was doing really. And so then the very basic starting point, just real quickly, was I made a really quick to-do list, which ended up having my keystone habits, even though I didn't know that was the word for them at the time. The things that make the most impact on me with the littlest effort, and so it can lead to sort of a cascading effect of changes. So those were brushing my teeth every day, taking my pills, which I'd been taking my meds every day, but not in an organized way. And part of what I think allowed me to do this is after some issues with my meds, they finally got right pretty close to right before I started this process. And then showering every day, and then avoiding all my addictions. And then I made a list of all the crap that had built up in the 5.5 months since I'd been back in Portland that I hadn't taken care of. And it was like, in addition to doing those basic things, I was gonna do at least one thing off the master to-do list. And so that's how it started, and it very quickly built up through that, and maybe I'll make a longer version of this video eventually, but because of what happened, like I explained, this is just the short version. So where I've ended up is my life, I feel like pretty transformed from where I was. I now have a clear long-term goal and sense of purpose as developed through the concept of my future self. And also I've set intermediate and short-term goals to work towards that. And I've learned a bunch of different strategies and tools and concepts towards living an intentional life, and have set as my keystone goal having a complete system and living an intentional life. And then I built up a bunch of positive daily habits and eliminated more negative ones. So after doing none of these before, I take my medicine and vitamins every day first thing in the morning. And then I meditate, I do a gratitude list and journal, I stretch, I exercise, I track how I use my time every day and write it down, I track my eating. I've been off and on of a consistent sleep schedule. I was on one for a little bit and then got off of it, and then the last 4 days I've been working to get back on it, but it's been a mixed bag. I stayed up really late and got up late, like last night and then today. And then so I've eliminated video games, television, movies, YouTube browsing, Twitch streams, internet browsing, social media, dating apps, and parasocial podcasts, and now irrelevant reading, reading that's irrelevant to my future self from my life. and like just committed to doing those. And then I created, or I came up with the idea of a life toolkit and created like 0.1 version of it, which is basically a vertical slice with drafts of at least an example of each component. And for that, I specifically created a really detailed step-by-step plan for what to do if I basically effectively relapse, and like translating what I did this time that was so effective to like walk myself through it, doing it again to start getting back on track. And I also summarized 16 different sources to as like an information gathering part of that. And then now I've created my website and YouTube channel as a public accountability tool and to be public about my goals. And I will be announcing that on all my social media tonight. And I'm going to continue working on it, adding more to it, but it has like its basic functionality and the things explaining it now. And then I didn't do everything off my master to-do list, but I took care of a bunch of stuff. The highlights were a bunch of stuff with my car, both paperwork and like physically. I did like replace the windshield wipers. Unpacking from my move way back in July. Canceling a bunch of subscriptions to various things, most of which I wasn't even using. That was costing me like over $100 a month. The most egregious one being I was managing to pay for HBO twice, like both directly and then through Amazon, which is just wild. And then I followed up a bunch of stuff on my move from back in June, July, and I hadn't gotten anything back from that. And so I got deposits and refunds and stuff totaling just under $1,000. And then my dad and I also did a bunch of work on my closet, which is still unfinished, but we removed all the wallpaper and did the structural work on it. So those are the highlights of like the miscellaneous stuff that I did. And so that is the progress I've made so far in the last 40 days.